Oh, for crying out loud.
Making the jokes any superhero fan needs to hear, The Simpsons has frequently poked fun at Marvel throughout its history. Starting now are the 10 most on-point marvelous references in The Simpsons. At the start of 3 scenes plus a tag from a marriage, The Simpsons absolutely roasted Marvel for their popular credit sequences. The episode opens with the Simpsons family sitting in a theater as a Marvel movie's end credits play on the big screen. When Homer stands up to tell the family it's time to go, Bart and Lisa tell him matter-of-factly that they can't go yet because they have to wait for the post-credit sequence. The next sequence that plays reveals that Spider-Man's Uncle Ben has been alive for the whole movie as an evil, devil-like monster.
He was alive the whole time!
The hilarious segment is topped off by Uncle Ben declaring triumphantly, "With great power comes no responsibility." While both Bart and Lisa are freaking out like any Marvel fan would in that situation, Homer shrugs it off in classic fashion and tries to leave the theater again. That's where the kids are forced to stop him a second time. Homer doesn't get it because he insists that they've already seen the sequence they were waiting for leading to the ultimate punchline. Lisa explains that the scene they saw was only the mid-credit scene and that there's still a post-credit scene to come. Let's jump to Season 24, Episode 16, entitled Dark Knight Court for the next clip on our list.
Hey, should be Fruit Batman.
When Fruit Batman is captured, Nick Fury has no choice but to activate a mysterious superhero team nicknamed the Octogenarian Initiative. Each superhero is then introduced through clips showing them in action. First up is the Rambler. This slow-talking senior appears in a suit, cape, and mask as he is able to lull 2 bank robbers to sleep with a long-winded speech about nothing. Next up is Early Bird, a masked hero with wings who arrives bright and early to his favorite restaurant. This is followed by the elderly female hero named Hot Flash, a punchline which we're pretty sure everybody can figure out. As a clever nod to Iron Man, the last hero on the team is Iron Lung, an old guy in a mechanical respirator who apparently can still fight evil somehow. We're just not sure how. Important to note here is that The Simpsons have a habit of predicting the future. With this skit referencing both DC and Marvel heroes on one super team, we're hoping this means the crossover movie of our dreams will happen sometime in the future. As impressive as any origin story, this slapstick-filled Marvel reference in Season 13, Episode 18 ends with Homer becoming a parody of the Incredible Hulk. To explain, Bart sets up a trap in the backyard for Homer to walk into, luring his dad in with a free donuts in the treehouse sign.
This looks suspicious, but delicious.
When Homer inevitably takes the bait, he's put through a series of unpleasant experiences, ending with being dropped into a kiddie pool filled with green paint. Now covered in green, Homer is so angry he begins to transform into a massive green monster reminiscent of the Hulk, bursting through his clothing in the process. Watching from afar, Bart remarks that at least Homer's pants stayed on, a clever poke at the trademark outfit of the famous green superhero. The cartoon version of Stan Lee, a character with several appearances on The Simpsons, sees hulky Homer and becomes really jealous, saying that Homer can't be the Hulk, because he instead is the real Hulk. Stan Lee then proceeds to try to get angry enough to transform, ripping his own clothes on purpose in the process. Unfortunately, despite repeated attempts, Lee is unable to change himself and is finally escorted away sadly by Comic Book Guy. In Treehouse of Horror 22, Homer wakes up to find out he's unable to move due to a spider bite he suffered while putting up Halloween decorations. As Homer tries to become accustomed to being paralyzed, he notices that he's still able to fart, allowing for his favorite hobby to become a method of communication.
Dad?
Strapped up to a hand truck so his family can move him around, Homer is left alone one night in the backyard when yet another spider crawls onto him and bites him. Thankfully for superhero fans everywhere, this spider proves to be radioactive, and Homer suddenly becomes a super dad able to shoot spiderwebs. Although he's still paralyzed and strapped to a hand truck, Homer begins swinging through the city similar to another friendly neighborhood superhero that you might have heard of. When a trio of bank robbers tries to rob the Bank of Springfield, Spider Homer finally has his chance to save the day. The masked hero swings onto the scene like a bowling ball, knocking the robbers to the ground in the process before farting a spider web onto them, ensuring they are safely detained for when the cops arrive. The skit ends with Marge climbing onto the paralyzed web slinger before the two swing off into the sunset. Further proof that The Simpsons writers are big Marvel fans comes in Season 18, Episode 6, when J. Jonah Jameson makes an appearance as the head of a poetry journal. The blustering, domineering demeanor of The Simpsons version is a perfect caricature of the iconic character from Spider-Man.
God, I love this business.
Jameson is introduced into the Simpsons story when Moe, the bartender in the show, sends in a poetry submission. As head of the journal, Jameson offers the response we would all expect, telling his assistant to pay Moe nothing and run his submission on the cover. If you thought Jameson had forgotten about Spider-Man, however, you would be wrong. The last scene of the episode goes back to his office as he angrily tells his assistant that he needs pictures of Spider-Man. When the assistant reminds him that they are a poetry journal, Jameson shoots back that he wants poetry about Spider-Man.
Okay, then poems about Spider-Man.
As you can tell, Jameson's hunt for Spider-Man never ends. Not even in The Simpsons. It's no wonder that the character is so spot on. The Simpsons version was voiced by J.K. Simmons, the very same actor who played the character in the original Spider-Man film trilogy and the post-credits scene of Spider-Man Far From Home. The first episode of Season 20 opens with The Simpsons attending Springfield's St. Patrick's Day Parade. When a large brawl breaks out between the attendees wearing orange and those wearing green, the Mulk and the Thung crash into the scene. The orange and green monsters, parodies of the Hulk and the Thing, are shown duking it out at the center of the action, fighting for the pride of their respective colors. Perhaps showing The Simpsons writers' preference between the two Marvel characters, the Hulk-like figure is definitely handing it to the Thung. Once the police are able to break up the melee, many of the participants are hauled off to court, including the Mulk himself, surprisingly. Given how he was beating the Thung, I don't know how in the world the Springfield police were able to bring him in. Once in court, however, the Mulk is given the stage to shine. Standing in front of the judge, the Green Monster delivers an impassioned request for the trial to be switched to a different venue, as he doesn't think downtown Springfield would give him a fair trial.
Green Monster cannot get fair trial.
Sounds like he has a history with the place. The Couch Gag is a classic part of the opening sequence in The Simpsons, and is known for being switched up each episode. Coming in right at the end of the theme song sequence, it centers around the family arriving just in time to sit on the couch and watch the opening credits of the show. For yet another classic nod to the Marvel Universe, Season 28's Caper Chase episode starts with a couch gag revolving around the X-Men. Homer arrives in a wheelchair dressed in a suit reminiscent of Professor X. Next comes Maggie as Wolverine, Bart as Angel, and Lisa as Storm, each displaying their respective powers as they arrive into the living room. Rounding out the team is Marge arriving as Krusty the Clown before transforming into her real Mystique-like form. If that wasn't enough Marvel for you, the sequence goes even further by bringing in Stan Lee for the punchline as he interrupts the scene to declare there isn't anything too short that he isn't able to cameo in. A joke about how he has appeared in all his movies and comics. With Stan Lee actually voicing his cartoon self, it appears he's got a great sense of humor. Rest in peace, Stan. With Season 30 of The Simpsons being released between 2018's Avengers Infinity War and 2019's Avengers Endgame, you knew The Simpsons couldn't pass up the opportunity to reference Marvel again. Coming right at the height of Avengers Mania, Episode 12 delivers the cameo we'd been waiting for. With the episode skipping the usual Simpsons theme song, the show is instead introduced with ominous cinematic music playing as the camera shoots through The Simpsons title in the clouds. The scene then opens up with the family standing in awe around the gigantic figure of Thanos sitting on the couch, taking their usual place in the living room. When Maggie the baby hands him her pacifier, he immediately puts it into his gauntlet, revealing that the pacifier is actually the final Infinity Stone. With that much power in his hands, you know Thanos is going to use it, and he quickly turns the entire family into dust, with only Maggie being spared. It's hard to determine why exactly Maggie decided to betray her family, but I guess she preferred Thanos to Homer as a father. Judging by her decision, she probably didn't ask Nebula or Gamora for their reviews, but hey, whatever makes you happy. When Lisa is humiliated at a Springfield County Fair competition in Season 15's Simple Simpson, Homer realizes he needs to do something. As he can't afford another felony, he determines he has to disguise himself before saving the day, and thus, Pie Man is born. After his first appearance as a success with both the town and his family, Homer decides to make himself an actual costume, so as to become the friendly neighborhood hero that Springfield needs. The scene borrows heavily from Spider-Man, but that's not the only sequence The Simpsons parodied. Later on in the episode, Marge is saved from being trampled in a crowd by Homer disguised in full costume, leaving them alone in an alleyway with a masked Homer hanging upside down. As any fan of the first Spider-Man movie would recognize, the setting is obviously perfect for a quick little smooch for the audience. Although Marge tries to protest by saying she's married, she ultimately relents and shares a magical makeout session with Pie Man, fulfilling his hero status. But the roast of the iconic Spider-Man shot doesn't stop there. At the end of the scene, rain begins to pour down and Marge wonders to herself about how exciting yet familiar the whole experience was. Now for the moment you've all been waiting for, the most on-point Marvel reference of them all. In a popular scene from the Simpsons movie, Marge asks aloud why there are pig tracks all over her ceiling. The camera then cuts to reveal Homer holding Plopper, the family's pet pig, so that he can walk on the ceiling as if he can stick to it, like Spider-Man. But this reference wouldn't be the same without Homer's beautiful rendition of the Spider-Pig song, sung to the tune of Spider-Man's famous theme.
Spider Pig, Spider Pig.
With lyrical genius like, "Can he swing from a web? No, he can't. He's a pig." This tune quickly achieved cult status. In fact, the track was so well received that Hans Zimmer's full version of the masterpiece is still available in online music streaming platforms today. With all that popularity, it seems that Spider-Pig actually gained Spider-Man's powers as he's later seen swinging through the title sequence of Season 21, Episode 11. I don't know about you, but I would like an explanation. Perhaps a Spider-Pig origin story should be in the works for future Simpsons episodes. Either way, I know what's going to be stuck in my head for the rest of the day. As a huge Spider-Man fan, my Spidey itch has definitely been scratched. Have all your favorite superheroes made it into the Simpsons universe? What's your favorite Marvel reference in the show? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe to CBR for more fun-tastic videos.